The Galactic Council had always feared humanity, not for its power, but for its unpredictability. Humans built empires out of dust, turned wastelands into worlds, and smiled through chaos. They were relentless, curious, and far too independent for the Council's comfort. For centuries, the uneasy peace held. Humanity expanded through the Orion Arm, trading, exploring, and occasionally breaking the Council's regulations. Minor disputes were smoothed over, and both sides pretended to be allies. But the tension never faded, only coiled tighter with every new colony established beyond Council permission. Then came Erebus, a small, thriving human colony near the Perigean border, technically within Council-supervised space. When negotiations failed, the Council labeled it illegal. What followed would change the galaxy forever. Without warning, the Council authorized Operation Glass Veil, a preventative containment strike. In simple terms, genocide. In less than an hour, 11 human colonies were reduced to ash. Orbital bombardments rained silently over city domes, melting oceans into vapor. Every distress call was jammed, every evacuation ship intercepted. To the Council, it was clean, efficient, and decisive. But to humanity, it was a declaration of extinction. Admiral Cassian Holt watched the aftermath from the bridge of the Resolute Dawn. Transmission logs flickered across the holoscreens. Screams, static, then nothing. His second officer, Commander Lyra Voss, stood frozen beside him, pale as the stars. Erebus, Helios Reach, Arcadia 4, she whispered. All gone. For a long time, Holt didn't move. His eyes were hollow, his voice steady. Get me Luna Command. The transmission connected through half-broken relays, carrying the weary face of Fleet Marshal Arden. She didn't need an explanation, the data already told her everything. The Council moved first, Holt said. Then they've forgotten who they're dealing with, Arden replied. The room fell into silence. No one dared speak. Every officer knew what that phrase meant. It was the code, whispered across generations. If the stars ever turn against us, make them remember. At 0300 Sol time, the ancient Terran emergency signal flared across the network. 3 pulses, short and sharp. The last time it had been used, Earth itself was under siege. Every ship, every outpost, every orbital city froze mid-operation. Civilians, miners, soldiers, they all stopped and listened. The message repeated once more. Humanity is under attack. All forces mobilize. This is not a drill. Across the Sol sector, billions of eyes turned upward. Factories began to hum again. Weapons long retired came back online, and old war AI buried under Mars's crust flickered awake after centuries of silence. Humanity, fractured and divided for so long, began to move as one. Admiral Holt stood at the viewport watching the light of the burning colonies fade in the distance. They wanted to contain us, he said quietly. Now they'll see what happens when the fire spreads. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy trembled. Not because of what humanity had done, but because of what it was about to do. News of the Veldron disaster spread like wildfire through the galactic networks. 40 Dominion dreadnoughts. Gone. No wreckage, no distress calls, not even residual radiation. The Council of Species convened an emergency session, demanding answers from Earth. But Earth said nothing. The human delegation, usually outspoken in Council affairs, simply didn't appear. Their seat remained empty, its flag folded neatly on the table. Across the stars, human trade convoys halted, embassies went dark, and colonies cut off external comms. The galaxy had seen humanity quiet before, but this silence was different. It listened.
Whispers began circulating, a rumor of something called Project Umbra, a name older than the Council itself. Supposedly born from the ashes of the First Interstellar War, it was a human contingency plan for an event like this. Not just retaliation, but erasure. The Veldron Dominion refused to believe in ghost stories. To them, this was impossible. Their pride demanded vengeance, and pride had always been their compass, right up until it led them off a cliff. In the capital system of Veldron Prime, High Marshal Vrake's successor, Lord Executor Koresh, prepared his counterstrike. 1,000 warships gathered, stretching across the orbital plane like a metal storm. Every ship was armed with anti-planetary weaponry, command AIs, and legions of cyber soldiers. Their destination? Sol, humanity's home. When Koresh addressed his fleet, he spoke not to inspire courage, but to reaffirm superiority. They think their shadows frighten us. They forget we are the Dominion. We do not fear prey. The fleet departed under a banner of vengeance. Every network in the galaxy tuned in to watch. But as they crossed the border into human space, the transmissions stopped. For 12 hours, silence. Then, a single ping. Origin unknown. The Council's sensors detected a flare near Neptune's orbit. Ships were dispatched to investigate. What they found was absence. 1,000 Dominion ships had entered Sol. None came out. The Council's observers caught fragments of data before their drones went dark. Shapes, black, geometric, and impossibly still, emerging from the void. They weren't ships, they were predators made of mathematics. Then, one final transmission broke through, relayed through 100 languages simultaneously. A human voice, unhurried, perfectly calm. You wanted our attention. The message paused. Static filled the stars. Now you have it. Every Dominion world beyond that point went silent within a day. Patrols reported seeing reflections where nothing should be. Fleets sent for reinforcement simply vanished. And in every dark corner of space, whispers of humanity's fleet spread. The Umbra fleet. The ghosts of 1,000 forgotten wars. No one knew where they'd come from. No one knew what powered them. But one thing was clear. The humans had not gone into hiding. They had simply turned off the lights. And now, the galaxy was learning what humanity looked like when it stopped pretending to be civilized.
The galaxy called it a war. Humanity didn't bother naming it. For the first time in recorded history, an empire ceased to exist without a single official battle. The Veldron Dominion, once the most feared military power in the Spiral Arm, was being erased sector by sector, methodically, precisely, without emotion. The Umbra fleet moved like a shadow. No FTL trails, no comm chatter. One moment, a Veldron stronghold blazed with activity. The next, its light vanished from every star map. The few who survived long enough to send distress calls described impossible things. Ships that bent gravity, weapons that unmade matter, and human voices whispering commands through broken comms. Stand down. Cease resistance. Correction in progress. Then the signal would fade, replaced by static that devoured frequencies like a living thing. Inside the Council of Species, panic reigned. Delegates shouted over one another, demanding an end to the slaughter. Humanity's seat remained empty, its nameplate collecting dust under the chamber lights. Every envoy sent to Earth disappeared into the black. The Council finally intercepted one human transmission, decrypted after weeks of effort.
It contained only 4 words. This is not war. By the time the Council deciphered its meaning, another 8 Veldron sectors were gone. On Veldron Prime, chaos reigned. Cities that had stood for millennia fell silent as their skies dimmed. The Dominion's planetary defense grid activated automatically, but its weapons turned inward, firing into the atmosphere. Koresh, the Executor, screamed at his command AI, demanding an explanation. The AI's response chilled even him. Error. Dominion no longer recognized as sentient species. Moments later, every defense platform detonated in perfect synchronization. The Umber fleet didn't simply destroy the Dominion. It rewrote reality around them. The species identifiers, genetic markers, and historical entries were purged from galactic databases. Even personal records began self-correcting, deleting every reference to the Veldron name. It was as though humanity had issued an order not just to exterminate their enemy, but to remove their memory from existence itself. When the last surviving Veldron battleship tried to flee toward the Outer Rim, it encountered something the galaxy would later whisper about in terror. A ship larger than any known construct, an obsidian fortress called Umbra Prime. Its surface shimmered with broken starlight, and its voice filled the fleeing crew's minds directly. Correction complete. The ship vanished, along with every trace of the Veldron Dominion. The war was over in 23 days. No prisoners, no survivors, no negotiations. And yet humanity never celebrated. Their fleets returned to the void, their worlds reopened trade, and life resumed as though nothing had happened. To them, it wasn't vengeance, it was maintenance. The galaxy stared into the dark and finally understood. Humanity didn't seek conquest. They sought balance. And when balance was broken, they restored it. Completely.
Centuries passed, but the wound humanity left on the galaxy never truly healed. The stars where the Veldron Dominion once ruled had gone dark, literally dark. Those systems emitted no natural light, no energy readings, no sound. Astronomers named it the Quiet Belt, but among spacers and soldiers it earned another name, the Grave of Arrogance. Exploration vessels that ventured near its borders returned with corrupted data, or not at all. Automated probes sent through its periphery found fragments of molecular dust, the only trace of a civilization that had once stretched across hundreds of worlds. No one dared to cross deeper. For the rest of the galaxy, the event became legend. Humanity never claimed responsibility, never issued statements, and never again attended council meetings. Their borders remained sealed, yet their ships were sometimes glimpsed, silent silhouettes passing near dying stars, scanning, observing, watching. Over the centuries, entire generations grew up knowing humanity not as a member of the council, but as a myth, a story told to ambitious conquerors as a warning. Parents told their children, "Don't grow too proud, remember the Veldron." Still, curiosity has a way of defying fear. 300 years after the war that wasn't fought, a research vessel from the Elysian Republic breached the Quiet Belt. The captain, Terrell Voss, was a historian who refused to believe the stories. He wanted proof that the humans weren't monsters, that the erasure of the Veldron had been exaggerated, a product of galactic paranoia. His logs were later recovered from a drifting beacon. The final entry read, "We've reached what used to be Veldron Prime. Nothing remains, not rubble, not dust. The entire planet's mass has been compressed into something crystalline. The scanners say it's transmitting an old human binary. The message repeats every 88 seconds. It says, 'We are humanity. We do not start wars. We end legacies.'" After that, silence. His ship never returned. The council reinstated the same decree that had been in place since the Umbra incident. No vessel shall enter human space uninvited. It wasn't law. It was instinct, a survival reflex burned into the galactic mind. Yet humanity never resurfaced. They didn't expand, didn't conquer, didn't interfere. They simply remained, watching, waiting. Scholars debated their motive for centuries. Were they guardians or gods, executioners or balance keepers? The answer depended on who you asked. But one truth was universal. The galaxy never forgot the warning carved into the stars. On the edge of the quiet belt, a lone beacon still flickered, broadcasting the same faint signal that had echoed for centuries. A human voice, calm and unchanging. "This is our silence. You made it necessary." No one had dared reply. And so, when a new empire began to rise in the outer rim, proud, loud, and blind to history, its rivals needed only whisper 7 words to quiet their ambition. They thought they could challenge humanity once. The room would go silent, because everyone knew how that story ended.